Hello once again, YouTubers and Doctor Who fanatics, to another Big Finish audio review on the channel. Today, we'll be taking a look at the final Big Finish release from the monthly range as we know it, because it's not ending, it'll be changed. The format is changing into box set releases. I cannot wait to see them. I cannot wait to see those Big Finish box sets, because we don't really know anything or like new releases surrounding that. Yes, The End of the Beginning by Robert Valentine. But yeah, what did I think about The End of the Beginning? Is it a fitting end to the Big Finish monthly range? The series, the range, which started the whole Doctor Who journey. In 1999 with Sirens of Time. On the desert dunes of Mesopotamia, finding a lost city, a spaceport with killer robots, vampires haunting the streets of London, and a very tall, imposing figure who is stalking the Doctor. The End of the Beginning is a very fitting end to the monthly range. And I decided to review it quite early on, because most of the time, actually pretty much every time, I wait until the physical release comes out and then I review it. But with the pandemic and everything, you know, that will probably take a while. So you'll just get reviews. It's divided into 4 parts. Each part is like a single story inside, one big adventure. We have Death in the Desert, Flight of Black Star, Night Gallery, and The Lost Moon. In the opening, we have like this voiceover entry and he describes how it's the end of everything, and the universe is like sort of calling him. There's no love, no compassion, no kindness in this universe, and his moral objective, because he was betrayed by his own race, we learn his name to be Vakras, the last of the Death Lords, to end all life in the universe, to declare war on the universe. And we'll learn his true intentions, what he wants to do, and what is this whole end of the beginning even mean? How is he going to declare war on the entire universe, and how would he put the universe in one single bubble, that there's no such kindness or compassion in this whole universe? Part 1 features the 5th Doctor and Turlough in the bleak deserts of Mesopotamia. They are surrounded and at gunpoint from Quarrington, an archaeologist, and his men who want to find the lost city, and by Ibrahim, which is one of the other supporting characters featured in just part 1 alone. Says that Quarrington is one of his biggest enemies. He's a madman, he's a thief, he's a murderer, and he would do anything to get what he wants. Something to link to the lost city. Yeah, music, sound design, everything is set up perfectly in this story. It just feels like you're in there in the strong screeching sun to the cold and rather bleak nights of the desert. Quarrington was a nice little small villain in this one-part little story. Again, feels like a lot like the structure of what Shadow of the Daleks does. Each little story, each part is like its own little story, but overall the whole thing links by the events. Although the Doctor, Turlough and Ibrahim, when they are travelling back to the Gorge to find the TARDIS and camp out by an oasis, Turlough and Ibrahim, not the Doctor, notices a mysterious cloaked figure stalking them, watching them, following them. And no man without supplies would cross these deserts alone, and without supplies. And when the Doctor is alerted about it, he's mysteriously gone. And near the gorge by the TARDIS, we find something quite interesting. We see Gallifreyan text engraved on the rocks, and another TARDIS, and we have a message from the Doctor from one of his tutors. He goes on about a lost moon who he's been seeking for his whole life. Apparently this moon is just nothing but a folk, nothing but a legend, a myth. There's probably no such thing in it, and what's on it, because the last part of the story is called The Lost Moon. Yeah, Quarrington was trying to get treasure, which part of it was like it was a Gallifreyan data storage device, which comes in 3 parts, so we know where the other parts would come from. Part 1 is good. We see Vakras again. He's very sinister and imposing because he's a very tall figure. And we know by part 1 what he's planning to do. He wants to round up all the doctors, or all the doctors he possibly can, into this story. Now the cover did make me think, because on the cover the 7th Doctor is kind of in the shadows a little bit. Good old 7th Doctor, we know what he's all about. He's the chess player, he's the mastermind. So we know there's going to be something a little bit different about the 7th Doctor. Of course it will be. I love part 1. It sets up things very well. I quite like Vakras. He only appeared in the opening and another point as well. Not too much, because that's going to be all built up, obviously. There's a lot of mystery and ambiguity to this story. It feels like a very fun adventure. You just want to blast through the whole thing, really. Like, you just want to blast through the whole thing, really. Yeah, you love part 1. Part 2 is The Flight of Black Star. This is the 6th Doctor and Constance. Flip is also mentioned. I haven't listened to the Lovecraft Invasion, I believe it's called. Something must have happened to her because she's receiving anti-venom from a krill spitter, so that's probably something to do with the Lovecraft Invasion, because I don't have the story, nor have I listened to it, so I'm presuming it is that story. The 6th Doctor and Constance are on Hydron N's spaceport. On Titan, probably one of Saturn's moons if I'm guessing, and we see a returning character from another Big Finish monthly story, again from the Lovecraft Invasion, who reminded me quite a little bit like Ace. She was quite headstrong, and her attitude and personality just reminded me a lot of Ace. Now, if you're thinking that you need prior knowledge in other Big Finish stories like Death in the Family or Neverland's The Greyest or whatever, no, you can listen to the story fine. You don't need prior context to other Big Finish stories like Death in the Family is. And the beginning is nothing like that. I know it's like the final conclusions, the whole monthly range. It's not going like all Infinity War or anything like that. It's just you can listen to it whenever you want to. You don't need any prior knowledge in any other stories. But yeah, we see the spaceport threatened by thug-like robots who are called Free Riders, controlled by a mad AI called El Zato. Sorry, El Zedo. This feels like a very New Adventures style story, like the Virgin New Adventures books. They feel a lot like that. And the story which came out to me when listening to the second part of The End of the Beginning was Transit. Just had a similar feel. The music, it just went, this feels a lot like Transit by Ben Aranovich. We do meet El Zato, who is a mad AI who used to be a person, a human being. But he tells the story that he's already met Time Lords before, and they were responsible of like helping him, really, and he kind of mocks the Doctor in a way and intimidates him that they made a mistake in doing that. In terms of progressing the overall plot, we do see Vakras in scenes, and again he's doing his part of the plan of taking the Doctor, finding him in different timelines, different incarnations, and taking him. In terms of part 2, I didn't particularly care about the El Zado and Free Riders, the robots, plot of them with the spaceport. It was a little bit padded and filler for me. I didn't really care about it. I was more engrossed and engaged with Quarantine and him finding the Lost City, and part 3, which I'll mention coming up. Now we move on to part 3, Night Gallery. Oh boy, I did love this part. Yeah, back on it now. Back on it. I loved Night Gallery. Part 3 throws a curveball at you. Did I mention the cover with the 7th Doctor's in the shadows? And yeah, that the cover means something. It does. It's not just doing that for the sake of it, really. Part 3 plays the 8th Doctor's music tune. I thought, oh, okay, yeah, I see what you're doing. I know the 7th Doctor had something to do behind the shadows in it, but I did think it would play the 7th Doctor's music, but maybe that's just being too predictable and easy. So they had to play the 8th Doctor's tune. So, yeah, the cover really did mean something. Because sometimes you can see with books and whatever, I'm not even referencing Big Finish here, but the cover has nothing to do with the story. But yeah, I like the cover designer who did that, 7th Doctor in the Shadows. The Eighth Doctor and Charlotte Pollard land in London 1999. Same year as the TV movie happened in San Francisco. The Doctor even mentions that he's alright here as long as he doesn't go to San Francisco, because he'd be disturbing the events of what happened. I really like the opening scene of Part 3, not with Vakras, but with Dwayne. It's like the villain of Part 3. Funny enough, he reminds me of one of the vampire villains from Vampire Science. He has that very thug-like attitude, because in Vampire Science there was one that acted quite like that, like a San Francisco thug, because Vampire Science took place in San Francisco. And the Doctor talks about vampires, and he's faced them many times, and he's an expert of them. Not gonna lie, I was fanboying a little bit about Vampire Science. I don't care, the EDAs are canon. I know it doesn't make any sense, but it's Doctor Who, they're canon. The Doctor and Charlie are given tickets to a gallery expedition, but Charlie is being given an early tour. Before that, he met a very imposing, tall figure with red, beaming eyes, yet again asking where the Doctor is. We know who that is. I've got to say, hearing Paul McGann and India Fisher again in the monthly range was nostalgic. It was a good feeling hearing them both back again in the monthly range, because we haven't heard on the Eighth Doctor. It's been Army of Death. Dwayne is probably one of my favourite characters who's voiced just performance-wise. Everyone's good, obviously. All the main cast of the Doctors, 6, 7, 8, 5th as well, obviously. But I just love Dwayne's performance, just like this thug-like vampire. It just kind of remarked me back to Vampire Science a little bit, and yeah, he did perform the role really well. Same with Vakras as well. Performances here, were just stellar, but I think he was one of my favourites. Part 3 is stellar, and we go into Part 4. Does it play the 7th Doctor's tune? Is he the one who's going to save the day? No, it does not play the 7th Doctor's tune. It does not. It plays the tune exactly like how it did in the Sirens of Time. Part 4 is the Lost Moon. We have the 8th Doctor. It pretty much follows on from Part 3 of the Doctor being abducted by Vakras. And we see the 5th Doctor and the 6th Doctor, along with the companions of Turlough and Constance, not Flip, in Vakras' ship. And we will understand his scheme. And there's been I didn't mention this in the review, but there's been a name that's come up now and again about a pilgrim, or the Doctor's tutor, his favourite tutor. That is Gostak. Obviously another Time Lord. I'm just going to keep hush about him. That's all I'm going to do. All I'll tell you, and what I have told you, he's been looking for the Lost Moon of Gallifrey. Part 4, I'm just going to keep hush about. I might do a spoiler section, I might not. I'll think about it in this video. But how the story ended, and the last line, which was from the 6th Doctor, very fitting. Very nice end to the Big Finish monthly range release, the format that it's been since 1999. It's changed somewhat now and again with like trilogies and stuff, and it has changed, but it's stick to the format of like one single release in each time. Now it's been changed into box set releases. I honestly thought this was a very good release. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I would say Part 2, that's probably the part where I wasn't really engaged in what was happening. The freebooters, those robots, and the plot with Zato rather, I keep getting his name wrong. I didn't really care for that much, but overall, this was a very fitting end to the Big Finish movie range release. At the end of the beginning, gets an 8 out of 10. Good work by Robert Valentine. Very much enjoyed the story. And in terms of characters, I'll just go through the characters right now. Peter Davison. A lot of people find him boring in the audio format. He does well. I love the 5th Doctor. In fact, he's always been my least favourite Doctor, really. Out of all the classic Doctors. But Big Finish are actually the reason of why he's gone up in my books. Peterloo Massacre and the Elite had something to do with that too. So, credit where credit's due. I always enjoy the 5th Doctor on Big Finish. And he's the reason why he's gone up in the ranking. The 6th Doctor, I've always been fond of him. And Big Finish have just delivered to a T of how much they've done for the 6th Doctor. Because in his TV series, we all know the story. It wasn't that well. But I haven't mentioned the 7th Doctor at all, the chess player. It's funny how the 8th Doctor actually references the 7th Doctor being, you're always the chess player, and he makes the joke, no, I've just been playing Scrabble, or everything's like happening in the background. So he doesn't really have like a part. I think it's okay to mention this. He doesn't have a story to himself like the 5th, the 6th, and the 8th. But I don't really mind that, if I'm honest. The 8th Doctor, it was just a treat to hear India Fisher and Paul McGann back again. I love them together, and I gotta re-listen to their stories again. It's made me want to do that. Mark Strickson as Visitor Tolo. It feels like he hasn't even changed, really, from the TV stories. He just sounds the same. Brilliant performances by him. Miranda Racing, which is Constance Clark. One of my favourite Big Finish companions, are done to a T. Same thing with Charlotte Pollard, India Fisher too. Vakras, he was very sinister and imposing in part 4. Sorry, part 4. Before part 4. Part 4 in itself, when it's revealed what he wants to do and what he says exactly, again it goes through a curve. It throws curveballs at you, like, very quickly. No, sorry, not very quickly. Very suddenly. You go, oh, I didn't expect that. I didn't expect him to say that, but yeah, it reveals what he wants to do. And that was played by Kevin McNally. So yeah, brilliant performances all around. 8 out of 10 audio. Cannot wait for the box set releases. I hope soon, or very shortly, Big Finish will show us that. So I cannot wait. So thanks for watching this Big Finish audio review. I'll see you in the next one. It will probably be, from the looks of it, Revenge of the Cybermen. Revenge of the Cybermen? No. Return of the Cybermen. Come on, get your facts right. So see you in that audio review, and have a good one.